be approached and meet a lot of different people based off your posters. Now, what should they cover? Basically, the first question is, why does anyone care about this topic? That's in your introduction. And in the introduction, either before or after, and what's the purpose of this study? Like, why did you do it? And what questions are you trying to answer? And then it's, how did you do this? So what are the methods that you used in your research to come up with the answers to the questions? How's your data gonna look? And then from that, what was found, summarize the data that was found, and then how the findings fit into the current knowledge. This goes in the discussion. The discussion wasn't explicitly written in the assessment one, that it's there, but in how it's graded, discussion is part of it. So be sure to discuss findings in your poster in some way. Then you need to have a very clear basic message and or future recommendations from what you guys have found in your thing. So these are the main parts of your poster. If your poster answers all those questions, it's a good poster. So that's what you want to look for. Now, how to do this? Everyone has their different style, and every professor I know is like, oh, I have the best style, follow my style. I have my own style, which is very different from my professor. I got in trouble, but then I had people that loved it outside. So and other people that hated it. So it's just everyone will have their own study. But as long as you answer those questions, that's what's clear. But there are features that have to be common about a good poster presentation. These are that they're visually attractive, but yet not distracting. So I think the best example of that is over here. It's kind of interesting to have that nice picture in the background, but for me it distracts from the data. And so you got to be careful about balancing the pop or the visual attractiveness with being able to actually read the content. Then you want to have limited text. You want to get your point across, but be concise. Bullet points I like, get it across. Then be structured, have the different sections. It's clear, make them very clear in the different areas. Okay, here's my introduction, here's my conclusions. So then anyone going through knows what part you're at. And then ordered. It's different than structured because then it's the sections in the correct order. Like, okay, introduction first, methods. I've had people put like conclusions first or put methods before they introduce why they're doing the study. So you got to make sure that it's also ordered. And then figures. Use of figures is probably one of the most important parts of the poster. They need to be able to explain information in there that can't be, or would be harder to do in a different way. Figures that have a lot of information in them, but in a nice, clear way are good, or a figure that just explains the basic result of the study is the best kind of figure you can have. Make sure they have a point behind them. Be clear. At the end of the poster, it shouldn't take me too long to read it because you've been concise, you've been clear, but I should know exactly what you found and why it's important. And it shouldn't be hard for me to try to figure out. I've read some posters and I look at it and I'm just like, interesting kind of, but I have no idea why I read this. So just be very clear. Now these are hard to read. I'm going to put these up so you can see online, and I've also given you the source of where it's from. But there's nothing actually written in there that's interesting. It's kind of just the format that you want. Notice how there's a bunch of box. So you have a title here, big letters, everyone can read it. You get the authors here. And here you say you don't have to put your address, don't put your address. But you would put your affiliation. You guys are all CDU. So you'd put your affiliation. Then you have each of the sections that are needed. So aims, introduction, materials and methods, your references, results. They forgot discussions. Often aims are built in at the end of the introduction. That's also okay. But make sure, I like this because it's clear. You have each part separated. But it's too much text. The conclusions have too many paragraphs. Try to make your points clearly. So then you have in your hands a couple examples. Right, so look at this one first. What do you think of this example? Do you think it's a good example, or is it missing something? What?
Isn't there introduction?
They're like headings to tell you what parts.
So yeah, they use a different method to their stuff. So that first section on the left, that's actually their introduction. So they give the kind of history of what they're trying to do, and at the end there, they give their aims. So they actually do have an introduction and aims, but yes, it's not clearly marked, so it's not like, here, go, my eyes go here. So that could be made clearer. Anyone else see anything that's missing?
The experiments? I would say. There's no titles relating them to what the experiments are about.
Yes. Just kind of general headings for that.
Just experiment 1, 2, and 3.
And there's nowhere that really clearly describes what they did differently in the 3 experiments, so the methods are kind of not clear. And the results, it's just presented very similarly. My biggest problem with this one is there's no discussion. Not anywhere. You see conclusions, and the conclusions aren't cited back to anything. The discussion doesn't have, I mean, there's no discussion, so you can't tie in the findings to what the literature was. So they presented the background literature in the one, but then they didn't tie it in the results, which is one of the harder things to do, but one of the most important things you can do with what you find. What was I going to say? There's also no references. I know in the introduction part they do say something at all, but they don't give the full reference section, and then they don't talk again. They don't talk about it. Yes, so it has to be clear. Like in the previous slide, there's a reference. There's a literature cited. It might not have to be that long. If there's a shortened version of APA, use it. But if not, follow APA. Vicky's been very clear about APA. So yeah, it's nicely structured. It's got some organization to it and good figures, but there's no discussion and no reference section. And again, there's the website to go to look at that. And what do you think about this one? Like, if you're looking at that, there's no chance of being able to read that, right? My biggest criteria of if you have the right amount of content in there is if you print it out on an A4, can you read every heading? Can you read everything? If you can read it, even if it's a little small, it's probably okay. But you have to, like some of those headings, you wouldn't even be able to read with a micro. It's too tiny. But what else do you notice about this?
No discussion again.
The introduction is there. It's just kind of hidden. They've put. So here is the introduction. They've done it funny. These are actual old experiments that they're citing in different references. They've done it really differently, but they do show why they started with their research, and they have the aims clearly outlined. They also show how they get from data to the end question quite clearly, but they show all this information that is extremely unnecessary. You want to be able to summarize it, and if people really want to know more, they ask you and you work with them, which is not the point of it. The one thing they do is they make very good conclusions. So you can go in there, and I think it's even referenced back to the different experiments and things. So they have too much information, but they present it quite clearly. If you zoom in and you can actually see that, they do it nicely, but it's too much. So you got to be careful about that. So here is just, again, a reminder about what we're looking for. It's pretty balanced about what the different, the introduction and why you're doing it with how you got your resource. That's a lot of the points. And so is also discussion of results and conclusion. So if you add up, that's 40% of